Welcome back to The Change Physician. I am Melissa Katie, the Challenge Doctor, with my co-host from the West Coast, Dr. Kevin Cuccaro, resuming as if we hadn't had a pause, but we have not done a live since I think it was October 1st, but so I guess it's been about a month. We've all been different directions, different places. So how are you doing, Kevin?
I am well. It has been a very busy time period.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm busy in a good way. So that's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I love it. Awesome. Well, we've had a little pause in the Change Physician. If you don't know what the Change Physician is all about, you can go to thechangephysician.com, learn a little bit about Kevin and myself and what our intentions are. And most of the time we just do a little Saturday salutations or Sunday salutations or Monday motivations or Friday faves. We've done all kinds of things. Most of the time you can find us on Saturdays, talking live about what's going on in the podcast. We've had a little bit of a gentle pause in our podcast episodes, but the most recent ones that we had, in fact, I'll pull that up, has been released on October 5th. Is that right? Yeah, so we had a little pause. And how to survive the medical system, which that is a loaded issue there. I actually just heard just recently, Kevin, about some other individuals struggling to figure things out, even with just primary care, like how to deal with people keep dropping them and they're on traditional insurance and all that stuff. So
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty broken. But I just saw something else too, some report about, increased mortality rate with maternal morbidity, mortality, and even if you're a physician, the mortality rates in America have not been great. I haven't seen the actual data, but this is a physician reporting on it. Yeah, crazy. But we talk about different facets of this issue, whether you're a physician or a patient or both. So anything you want to share from your exciting adventures over the past month or one of your favorite things?
Well, I had lots of favorite things. So we were all over the place. We were in Paris, and then we were in Reykjavik, and then we were back for 4 days, and then we were back in Chicago. And it was busy. But my kid's piano teacher was getting married, and he'd let us know in the spring or whatever. And my kids both are now in college, so they didn't get to go, but we went. And it was amazing. For anybody who has not been to Paris, it was never on my bucket list. I had never really had a desire to go to Paris, maybe because everybody talked about it all the time. But that all being said, after being there, I would totally go back. It was, and we did, I can't even point to what we did. It was, we walked over 30 miles in 4 days. And I think I like, a lot of European cities are so, because they're old and they're small, kind of cramped in areas or whatever. They're so walkable, man. And it is, and that's what I like to do is, so we walked. And then another thing I really, really liked is then you went into each of the neighborhoods. I'm going to screw this up, like arrondissements, I think they're called. They each had a different feel. So the more you walked, the more you saw. And, and people were nice. This whole thing about like French people being jerks or whatever, they're so much better than I think Americans are, to be honest. I took French in high school many moons ago. I didn't know anything. I learned like 2 phrases, one of which is just like, je suis un idiot. I'm an idiot and don't speak French. So, and you do a little bit of self-aggrandizement and everybody was super cool. And it was awesome. Like I would, without a doubt, go back and enjoyed that. And this was our second time that we'd been to Iceland. We spent 3 days in Reykjavik, which it's been 5 years since we were there, and I was blown away at the growth. Like, there's not a lot of Icelanders. There's less than, I think there's like 400,000 total, and about a big chunk, maybe not quite a quarter of those are immigrants. But it kind of reminded me when we had been to, I guess one of the cool things about going back to a place over and over again is you can see how it's changed. And so we had been to Shanghai like 3 or 4 times, and over the time that we had been there, you could just watch it grow, like crazily grow. And there's cranes everywhere. And so going back to Reykjavik, it was interesting because there was so much growth. The hotel we actually stayed in wasn't even built when we were there 5 years ago. In fact, the area of the harbor that it's on was harbor when we were there. And now they had filled it in and built stuff in there. And then the really fascinating thing was when we had been there previously, most of the service industry was still Iceland, like native Icelanders. And this time, it almost everybody was immigrants. So the hotel staff was a lot of Portuguese. There was a lot of Polish people in the stores and restaurants. And the tourists had changed. So we had been there in the summer 5 years ago. This was October. And this was completely multinational now. So when we had been there before, it was all pretty much American. At least that's what just from the accents that I remember and people talking. This time there was French, Spanish, Italian, Eastern European, I'm assuming either Russian or Ukrainian or something. And I mean, it was unbelievable. Like it just blew my mind. And anyway, I love Iceland too. It was awesome. And
I had to look up the name of that city that you said.
Reykjavik.
Yeah, I've never seen the word. And
they're all of the Icelandic words have lots and lots of like weird consonants and vowels smashed together, and that one's an easy one. So the other ones are a lot harder than that one.
Yeah, no, it's like I didn't even know exactly where it was on the map of Iceland.
I think you and Corey would like it.
Yeah,
yeah, because it's absolutely gorgeous, and we like the first time we went and we again stayed in Reykjavik, and then we did day tours out. A lot of people will go and they'll rent cars and drive around. I just don't like to drive a lot when I'm on vacation. But it is just freaking gorgeous. And when we go back, because we will go back again, I want to get to the other aspects of the island, like the North Shore and the east side. And we went to some of their hot springs this trip, and I just want to do more of that. It's just super, super relaxing and great. Like we went to this place called the Sky Lagoon, which is also not built the last time we were there. And you're in this, it's like the Icelandic Disneyland is these hot springs. They have all this geothermal activity, and they'll make these big ponds. So like the Blue Lagoon, which everybody knows about, is not natural. They actually formed it and then used the water, and it has the silica, which it makes it kind of blue. And personally, I can have you some stories. I don't like the Blue Lagoon. We went there and I don't want to go again.
Yeah.
But the Sky Lagoon, they built it, and it's a short drive outside of the city proper, but it overlooks a bay. So you're sitting there in this perfect hot spring that's huge. And they have the rocks all around, or like lava rocks that they've kind of formed. And I was trying to figure out like how much of this is natural rock and how much is like the Disneylanding of the rock. But it's just gorgeous. And we were there for like 4.5 hours, and it was nighttime and you're under the star. We were hoping, I was like, my big thing was like, oh, maybe we'll see the aurora over there, but it was a huge full moon. So total different beauty, but it was just awesome. Like you just turn into a prune and relax and hang out. And then all the service staff at the lagoons were almost all of them were immigrants this time too. So, but just gorgeous country. Like
you just lay in the water.
You just sit in the water, and they have a little bar, and you go in there. And then Sky Lagoon has this, I mean, I'm telling you, this is like Disneyland. So each one of them has their little signature thing, and Sky has the 7-step ritual, which is, they market it well, because it's literally the first step is get into the lagoon, right? And then the second step, I think, was they had a cold plunge. So there's this pool, it was super cold water, and you plunged into that, and then did that as long as you tolerate, which was not very long. And then you go into, they have this kind of building that's built into a hill, almost looks like a hobbit hole kind of thing. You kind of move into there, and then there's this sauna, and the sauna was freaking gorgeous. Huge sauna, full, ceiling to floor window that overlooks the bay. So you bake in there for a while. That's step 3. And then you come out of that, and then they give you this like salt rub stuff. And then you basically abrase all your skin with this salt rub that's got like, I don't know, essential oils or something, smelly salt rub with oil in it. And you do all that. And then, so that's step 1, 2, 3. That's step 4. And then you go into the steam room, and then you hang out in the steam room and sweat it all off. And then that's step 5. And then you shower and clean it all off. I mean, total marketing, right? Because most of these ritualistic steps are just steps on the process.
Yeah.
And then you shower and then you go back out into the lagoon. And yeah, it was great. I mean, it was just awesome. I mean, the bad thing is you can only do it once. Like you can only do that stuff one time and then you're out in the lagoon again, which is fine. But I would have really liked to been able to go back into the sauna. Like I always like sauna, but this year I really learned how much I really like saunas. Like I just like them.
Yeah.
It was, but it was awesome. And then in the Blue Lagoon, they had, I don't know, some stuff. But it was super crowded and it was sort of chaotic and weird. Like it was just the process of going to Sky was just so much more relaxing than the Blue Lagoon. And then there was some other some mildly gross stuff at like the Blue Lagoon. Like they just closed it because of earthquakes. And my God, I hope they clean it because you can't see anything on the bottom. So this, if you want to go to the Blue Lagoon, don't listen to the rest of this right here because you go in and it's pretty. I mean, it's not the same because there's no views. You're just stuck in the blue milky looking water and it has all this. It's apparently like this milky color because of the silica. But we get in there and within the first 10 minutes, we're like walking around and there's tons of people. I can't even imagine what it's like peak tourist season. Again, really chaotic trying to get in. It was not relaxing. There's like, they didn't tell, took me like 5 minutes to figure out how to open the locker or to close the locker. Cause there's nothing, they just kind of throw you around here, go there, go there. And they have these weird lockers, but we're in the lagoon finally. And I start walking around and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then we start walking some more. And I had seen, we flew Iceland Air for the stopover and there was like this marketing video and one of the guys is like, oh, did the Blue Lagoon and you put this, and he had this face mask because you get these 2 face masks with your ticket thing.
Yeah.
And he had this white pasty stuff on and it looked like he had in the video like reached down and grabbed it and he goes, it's the silica of the Blue Lagoon that makes your skin so nice. So we're walking and it's like rock. And then I kind of felt the ground. I'm like, okay, this feels a little different. Maybe this is the silica they were talking about. So I went under and grabbed it. It was not silica. It was clumps of hair from all the people because it kind of would pull. Oh, it was so gross. And I'm just like, I can't say anything because we just got here and I don't want my wife to get grossed out and I don't want to ruin her experience. Needless to say, she figured it out not too long after. We were in the pool less than an hour and they're like, okay, we're done. We don't have to be in this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we went to lunch in one of the restaurants and it was a good lunch, but man, it's like, it was, I don't need to go back there.
Agglomeration of DNA.
Yeah, it was like because
DNA pool.
Like, originally, she's like, oh, I just was pretending it was moss. And I'm like, yeah, it's moss. It's just human moss.
Yeah,
it was so gross,
so disgusting.
Anyway, I don't want to take away from anybody else because there's a lot of other hot springs. I saw like 2 more before. I'm like, I want to go to this one. There's some other like isolated ones that look really, really cool.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable. So very
nice.
The
one with all the steps and stuff for like, sauna, was that the Sky Lagoon?
That was Sky.
Okay.
Yeah, Sky. And that one's faster. So the Blue Lagoon is like a lot of people will go between the airport because the airport's about an hour outside of Reykjavik. And you can stop and then do the whole thing and then go on. We went all the way to Reykjavik and then they had a bus that would take us out and then we came back, but it's like a 45-minute drive. But Sky, we just took a cab and it's only 15-20 minutes. And as I said, we went in the evening. It wasn't, I guess they said there was about 1,000, they can do about 1,000 people a day there, or no, 1,500 people per day. And there was about 1,000 that they were there. So it's about 2/3 of max capacity kind of a thing. It was just nice. It was just super relaxing. Like and particularly in the evening, I think that's the other thing I really liked is being there when the stars are out and you're just kind of relaxing. It was super, super duper relaxing.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And then after that, we came home and we have a friend who's had some health issues and we're like, we need to get out and see him. And so then we were back for 4 days and then flew out to Chicago for a 4-day weekend, Friday to Monday. And that was like the best, and all it was the people. So if you guys have old friends that you're thinking about getting together, just do it. Like we should have done this before. But it was just great. Like all we did was basically fly out, went to dinner with all of them on the first night and had a great time. And then we met for dinner the second night, and spent like 3 hours in the restaurant on that night. And so I don't know. It's just, it was the older I get, the more I realize the importance of human connections and like these close connections. And because it's me, there's actually a lot of data and research on that. So the number of close connections you have in your 50s actually correlates with your physical health in your 80s. So I've been really more kind of cognizant of that. And these people are just great. Like you get these core groups of friends, and you kind of like, how can you ever, I just like, why we don't have that here. We have good friends here, but we don't have friends like we had in Chicago. So I don't know. It was the word of the day is a Portuguese word, and I can't pronounce this. It's Saudade, Suade or something. And it's like this Portuguese word means like melancholy for a lost time. Like this beautiful thing that occurred, but it doesn't, it's not going to be like that again, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what it kind of reminds me of, is like you had these moments. Yeah, there's moments of time when you're with these groups of people and you can kind of recreate them, but it'll never be like it was when you were there. Yeah. So yeah. So it's been very busy. How about you?
Yeah. Well, you've kind of had an international, domestic little fun. We have not gone international during the time we've not talked.
You came to Oregon though, didn't you?
We did.
You planned it right when I was gone, which was, really nice.
It was kind of just, it landed to be, it happened to be a good weekend because the following week my surgeon didn't have any cases on Monday. So that's why. But, Corey said to mention, we were in Astoria and checked out the Goonies house. Yeah. And of the 6 people there, 5 of them were originally from Nebraska. And the irony, it was a group of ladies, and Corey happened to ask where they're from. And they're kind of like, oh, he's not going to know where they're from. First of all, they said Nebraska.
So Corey's from Nebraska? I didn't know that.
He was born south of Omaha. He was born actually in Maryland, but he grew up essentially in Omaha area. So when they mentioned the small town, like Corey knew exactly where, and they were all like just awestruck that he knew that. And so anyway, it was just so strange that so many of the people who were standing there and taking pictures were from Nebraska, except for me, So yeah, they flew from Nebraska to go and visit some Oregon. Yeah, well, that was part of their whole thing. But yeah, so we enjoyed that. We actually stayed outside of Salem, Airbnb in a place called tiny town called Amity. And it was on a little small working farm, and got to see some horses, some dogs, and they had some goats, and it was just kind of fun. Beautiful garden. Obviously, they've been there for like 30 something years. And so the garden has just, become amazing. And that wasn't even prime season, like where it all is flowering. So, so we hope to visit there again another day soon. But we just enjoyed the West Coast.
Did you do Silver Falls?
We did. And we did Silver Falls. Got some great pictures and shots, and we didn't hit every fall, but we hit some of the biggest one.
Did you do the 5-mile loop?
No, I think it was like a 3-mile cut across
with the bridge. You went
yeah, but we definitely saw the biggest one. I'd have to I can't remember the name, but we went to I think there was like a north. Was it south? I can't remember, but there's so many falls. We didn't see all of them. And it had just rained recently. And so there's some areas that were a little bit, wetter than others, but it's hard with waterfalls. There's going to be a little bit of moisture, but
sometimes they're wetter than others.
Yes, exactly. But really enjoyed that. Totally worthwhile. I'm glad you mentioned it. And it's so funny. Our little live things. It seems like we talk about places we go, and I feel like that's a huge value to, to listeners, just finding out, there's a place someone's been to they like, and pros and cons are little, nuggets. So I think that can be kind of fun to, like you said, like you didn't really know that Paris was a place you'd enjoy, and you never really had it on your bucket list. But that's kind of cool that when someone explains a place that's really nice, or you have CME, it's in a totally different place you hadn't really thought about going, you're like, I'll get some CME. And you go, and you're like, you end up going back because you just found some joy in it. So, so Oregon, we've always had a love for that area. It's also probably a much better for people that would like to garden and actually grow things. With some
Just throw
rainfall.
seeds out the window, at least in the valley, and they grow. So
Yeah, like you could like do well. And then we did go to just past the Texas Oklahoma border. There's a casino called WinStar. So I've gotten to a point where I'm sick of gift card giving in the family. So I'm like, this is for the birds. So we're gonna go ahead and buy some tickets to see the Beach Boys and take my parents. So we took my parents, since we, they live in the Dallas area, up to Windsor, which is like an hour and 10 minutes to get there.
mhm.
And it was like an hour and a half show. Some of the original members are still in that band. I think two of them. So a lot of the songs you've heard before, just easy to start singing to them or moving to them. But one thing I did not know about, so my parents, we went ahead and got some accessible type seats, and that section, not just the accessible seats. So anyone looking to go to the WinStar, the accessible seat row, which is pretty much one row, there's like three parts. There is an area right in front of it that is only accessible through the second floor. You take the elevator to, but you walk through an area that has, by the way, two additional bars that you pay for the alcohol there, but the food, they have like appetizers, unlimited, like a buffet of appetizers for the people that are only in those sections. And it didn't say anything about it when I bought the tickets. So yeah, we just had some dinner. Luckily I ate light, so I was like, I'm gonna enjoy a few things there. But they had tea and water and appetizers, and that was free. And it wasn't even advertised. I think they should. But anyway, I think the tickets are maybe just slightly more expensive, maybe $30 more than people on the floor. And so it's like, okay, if you're going to go to the WinStar, pick the seats that are right in that section, right in front of the accessible seats. It'll be kind of for a unique, and when you're in that area, before they start the performance, the lights are all on, and even if they start the show a little bit, you can come back in and it's quiet. So if you want to talk to somebody for some reason, so you have a separation. But anyway, it was a good little show. Actually, Corey and I are looking at maybe next year going to find an artist that we'd like to see, and just drive up there and drive back to my parents afterwards. You don't even have to stay. Although we had them stay there just so they don't have to move around a lot. But that's the excitement I can share. And I think we talked for a while just talking about our adventures.
Adventures, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just want to add about like Silver Falls, because I'm just going to put a plug in that. Like,
Yeah.
It is like one of the crown jewels of I would say the United States. It's maybe not everybody knows about it. It's not a national park, it's a state park, but it is. I've been there, I don't know, 5 times at least. And it is awesome. Like, I'll tell you, the first time we went to Iceland, and like Iceland, so we got all these waterfalls, blah, 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 and you can walk behind them or whatever. And literally, when we were there, we were walking and we're like, oh, that's a pretty waterfall, and you can walk behind it. We can do that in Oregon. And here's another one. Oh, yeah, I think ours is better. So,
yeah, it's beautiful.
Not to detract from Iceland, because Iceland's awesome, but man, it is amazing. And then the different seasons are really cool. So we've been in the summer, the spring, we were in the winter, which was really wet, but there was snow, and if anybody's coming to Oregon, you got to go to Silver Falls, because it is amazing, like literally amazing. And I'm going to tie it into something current here. Is we're seeing investment in our country, right? So there's a lot of investment in our country currently. Kind of this, with Biden's thing is middle class, building it from the bottom and the middle out again. And Silver Falls was built by, I almost positive it was the Civil Conservation Corps. So during the Great Depression, when they were doing all of these really great works.
Yes.
And it just sort of reminded me of that, is when we start really investing in our country versus the stuff that hasn't worked for 40 years. The results can be amazing. And I can think of we have a lot of stuff in Oregon that was built during that time period that is, even think at Hood, there's the lodge there, you've got Silver Falls, there's a lot of things pretty sure on the coast that we've been to. So anyway, it just makes me an appreciation of how government should kind of work, at least what you would hope. So
yeah, I'm actually going to share an image for you, and Let me see if I'm going to find one of the better ones here. Well, this is just one of them to give perspective. Let's see here. Let me do my share button. Share screen. Oh, weird. I'm just trying to, like, maybe this is my new computer thing, but wow. It's not letting me pick something to share.
What?
I can't tell what the images are when I'm trying to share. So have you ever come across this? Because I'm trying to like
No, it sounds like that. It sounds like your computer is trying to take over your life. You just can't trust it. You got to be very careful now. Seriously. I mean, it could be the singularity or the AI is coming after you. Danger, danger, Will Robinson.
Let's see here. Photos. I really want to share this. So if you can bear with me. Oh, Zoom, it's doing it. I gotta give recording use. Okay, hopefully this is not some viral thing.
Viral thing.
Okay, let's see if it'll let me share. Okay, I think I can do this now. I had to give it permission for some reason. So there you go.
Oh yeah.
So you can see, if you look really closely, you can kind of think, oh, it's not that big a waterfall, until you notice that there are people that are super tiny down along that fence halfway down. So there you go. That is the state park.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have one. I'm trying to find it because you can go behind and we have videos like behind with the water coming down and everything. And it's
yeah, well, I can show you my crazy husband behind one of them.
But it is, yeah. I mean, it is amazing. Silver Falls. We did actually in last January, I think. We rented a cabin there with my wife's cousin's family, and that was fun. That was actually a really good time too. I think I can't remember if we did one night or 2 nights there, but so you can stay on the property and then walk over and do all the hikes around the falls, and this is gorgeous. Oregon is just, it really is. This is a beautiful state. It's just it's lazy beauty, which I think we talked about before. It's just gorgeous. It's freaking gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to find, they're actually the story behind, these young men that helped build out that whole park area. I think my husband has actually those images, but it's pretty cool. Just, they barely worked for anything, that they stayed on site, and it took years, and there's a lot of labor to create the paths and everything around there. So,
and it's cool. The cool labor though, because it's those dark stone, and then the lodge or the building where they have like the little cafe thingy in there. I just love that. I mean, I just love that architecture. Just deep stone wood. It's just, I'd love to have a house like that. Just like,
yeah. And they refurbished just a little bit of one of the older places I think they stayed, and I took pictures up close. It shows actually fossilized stones. And you can see some of the shell imprints and whatnot on, some of the original stones that were done way back. In fact, let me show you. Well, I got people that are, if they're still interested in this.
Well, they should be. I mean, this is like,
this is like definitely historical stuff here. Where is that image? I don't know why it makes it so difficult. I probably had to reboot, restart. Photos, there it is. So you can see.
Oh yeah.
You can see some of those shell imprints. It's pretty cool. But yeah, if you like to see, I mean, it really blows your mind if you really start thinking deeply about how old some of this stuff is to, create that. But yeah, I'm not a big, like, not that I don't appreciate museums and historical type, collections of things, but to see things kind of like in the around nature that are like part of history. I don't know. It's kind of cool. So any last thoughts for those listening? Obviously their future episodes will be coming.
Someday.
You know, Kevin, what's that?
I said someday.
Someday. Kevin and I have been trying to enjoy a little bit of our breaks during this fall. I don't know what you want to call it. Here it's like summer, fall, winter. Which day is it? You know, next day it feels like a different season here, but obviously we've had a little bit of fun gallivanting around, enjoying ourselves. So any last thoughts before you take us out?
No, other than get out, do some stuff, take some time to travel and connect with old friends. I mean, I would say that was the biggest takeaway I had, I think, of everything, is the travel is great, but really seeing old friends and spending some really quality time with them and just catching up was probably the highlight of when we were gone. And that was
Absolutely.
really special. So yeah, we tend to neglect it, and we shouldn't, and just do that.
Yeah.
We'll call someone who you haven't talked to for a long time today and see where it leads.
Yeah. It's not just places and things, it's people.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, cool. We'll take us out and we'll wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for today's Saturday Salutations with the Change Physician podcast. As always, if you have anything, you can comment on the video, or you can reach out directly to me at Dr. Kevin at thechangephysician.com. And until next time, stay well.
Take care.